and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 12 August. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Finland has charged the captain of a tanker over cutting cables. A fugitive Moldovan billionaire has offered $3,000 a month to protest against the government. And Trump has extended a tariff pause with China. So firstly, Finland's National Prosecutor's Office said on Monday that it has brought charges against the captain and first and second officers of the Eagle S oil tanker over the cutting of undersea cables in the Gulf of Finland in December. The Georgian and Indian nationals are suspected of aggravated criminal mischief and aggravated interference with communications by dragging the ship's anchor for around 90 kilometers across the seabed, the prosecutors said. So what? I can't wait to see what actually comes out during this case and whether these individuals being charged were directly aware of what they were trying to achieve by dragging the anchor, or if they just thought it was like, we got paid X amount of money just to do this. We don't know why. Generally, do they know if those undersea cables were there and how they were paid, how they were who got them into it, like into doing the task, and how they convinced them to do it. All of this will be very interesting if it can come out during the trial, because it'll show how, ideally, it will show how Russia kind of procures this type of operation, which will be cool to see if it does become public. But it's a big if. And next, fugitive pro-Russian businessman Elian Shaw has offered Moldovans monthly payments of $3,000 to join anti-government protests in a bid to undermine Moldova's pro-European government ahead of parliamentary elections next month. Moldovan officials have regularly accused of Moscow of meddling in their domestic politics by stoking pro-Russian sentiments in a subversive campaign to topple the government as it bolsters ties with the West. Moldovan officials have regularly accused Moscow of meddling in their domestic politics by stoking pro-Russian sentiments in a subversive campaign to topple the government as it bolsters its ties with the West. These are accusations Moscow obviously denies. Shaw, who is currently under Western sanctions for efforts to destabilize Moldova on Russia's behalf, said he would make daily payments to each protester totaling a monthly $3,000 salary if they began protesting in the capital in Chisinau starting on Saturday. So what? I mean, just openly admitting to Russian interference is a pretty wild task by this Shaw fella. It's quite possible that this will work and get quite a few people out there looking for the money. Whether he actually pays is another thing. And then also, if people do receive the money, whether they can be charged with a crime will be the other interesting thing. Moldova is a very tricky state next to Ukraine with a breakaway region of Transnistria. It has a lot of internal issues and struggles since their inception some time ago. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Whether it's actually effective in changing the elections is another thing entirely. It seems unlikely. I was actually in this country not that long ago, and it was lovely. It was much nicer than you'd expect. Great wine, great food, and a great time on the piss. So, all good fun. And there was a lot of pro-European sentiment when I was there. So hopefully that comes through and they can make some good decisions in their elections next month. And lastly, US President Donald Trump confirmed on Monday that he is extending a tariff truce with China for 90 days, with Beijing announcing a similar measure. China also announced it will suspend its additional tariffs on US goods for 90 days, the Reuters news agency reported, citing the Chinese Commerce Ministry as saying on Tuesday. Trump's most recent executive order will expire on midnight on November the 10th, allowing for more time for both sides to reach a resolution. Trump's executive order said that China has continued to take significant steps towards solving the US concerns regarding trade and security matters, while also addressing the ongoing negotiations between the two countries. So what? From my understanding, this isn't how tariffs work, and it just shows how ridiculous and ineffective Trump's tariff policy is. From my understanding, how tariffs work is you put a tax on certain products that you want to build a domestic production in, so that your domestic production can compete with the international market. For example, electronics or pharmaceuticals. So any pharmaceuticals coming into the country face tariffs, thereby increasing their price, allowing domestic competitors to compete at a fair rate or even undercut the international competitors, thereby building up your own domestic market. For them to be effective, they need to be consistent and long-running, something that these tariffs introduced by Trump have both not been. They have not been consistent and they have not been long-running, giving anyone who would look to invest in anything that is coming in from China no opportunity to invest in building a domestic production line. For example, like small electronics, no one is going to start trying to build those in the US because of the cost of labor and the cost of machinery. And you don't know that in 30 days, Trump isn't just going to flip these tariffs off, and then you're essentially going to have to compete with much cheaper Chinese products with much higher prices. Yeah, so pretty fucking dumb, in my opinion. But hey, let's see what he gets up to. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.